You want me to kick us off that way? We can get into the really juicy stuff after we announce some couple of bits and pieces and the comps we got going on.
Yeah. I think everybody loves to hear the like contests and winners stuff right off the bat. So yeah, let it rip.
Outstanding. So our Gleam comp going on, which we noticed yet, and you're participating in the Gleam contest of the Learn and Earn. It gets questions added on the daily as well. So from little tidbits that we have, so from the Twitter Spaces, from anything we talk about, any of these chats, there's little sneaky questions put in there. So when I was saying on the live from the Facebook, will this be on the test? Yes, it will be on the test. So everybody, I guess, keep checking in. There will be more stuff added as we go, and that will turn into a monumental document of excitement over the next 3 weeks. So that's still going. We still have our Zealy going, and the pop quizzes are still happening inside of the Discord. And I know that me and Sam have some other stuff planned out for the rest of the week too, but we'll get to that. That's not quite ready, but we've got these. Those are the current ones running. We do have some winners to announce for the week as well, which is very exciting. So the pop quiz, and I know these guys are so diligent. We're at this point where we sort of almost have to put restrictions on them winning too much, so to speak. But we have Kayhan, Dirk, Copper Bear, Hritsav. I think I might have Hiriyutsav. Pronunciation is not great on that. And Tiberius are the winners this week for the pop quiz. And one major winner that I think we need to give congratulations to is, I believe it's they go by K or Kayhan as well, is the 5000 L1X for the coin design. So we were a little bit lagging on announcing that, but I'm glad we've got it out there now. It's fantastic job on putting that together, and yeah, massive congratulations for getting the win in the catchphrase there as well. And lastly, I'd like to give a huge congratulations to our mod and X team members of the month, Hader and Super Beans. I know everybody loves those guys. They're definitely in the chats all the time. You see them everywhere. So just from us to them, from the community as well, massive congratulations. And I think that wraps up everything I've got. Sam, have I missed anything?
No, I think you covered everything. And our token design winner is in the audience. His name is Ayaya. So big congratulations for him and winning on the 5000 L1X tokens. And yeah, we have some interesting things planned. I'm not sure we can say it out loud now, but yeah, we'll have something.
Just up your game, everybody. Time to level up. All right. Chief or Merkle-Root, do you want to kick us off on nodes or tokenomics related to that? And how are you, by the way?
Yeah, trying to be alive. Trying to. It's a battle. Keeping my eyes open, this time of the day. But yeah, trying to be alive. I'm glad to be back on the AMA. I'm in Kuala Lumpur this week. I'm flying back to Perth tonight. All right. So what I'll do is probably I'll let Chief go through the tokenomics, but maybe I can kick us, off with the nodes side of the things. We've released the document on, the nodes and the staking side of the things. And, pretty simply, if you think about it, what we have done is, we've divided the way the nodes will be hosted on the network in 3 different parts. And if you look at it from the perspective of scalability or security, and even from the launch perspective that we are going to do on 31st August this year, I'm very excited about that. It all ties up to the fact that, we are, focusing on Xtalk or interoperability, and that's the way these nodes are designed. So, going a bit into the nodes and the types. The first one is the event listener node. So, these are the nodes that listen to the events from, the client chains. So it can be from Ethereum, it can be from Avalanche, Polygon, all these kind of chains. And the difference between the bridge, for example, is when a bridge listens to the event, it does not validate anything. So, the only validation is what you told me. I'm just trying to validate that before I pass it on. But what you told me, is that correct or not? There is some background check done. So we go back, check on the block height whether this transaction actually happened. If you check the states, or you check, how this data has, come about, there would be some changes that were made in smart contract storages as well. So we check that. So it's a proper validation system between the event listener nodes. After that, after the event listener nodes validate these events, it's sent to the transaction execution environment, which are the full validator nodes. And the full validator nodes then apply certain kind of logic to it, certain kind of rules to it. For example, let's say, you're on a DeFi application and you've automated some process, which is if the USDC to USDT peg falls below, let's say 0.9, automatically sell my USDC and convert it to Ethereum, for example. Now, this is a logic. This is a rule that you're trying to establish on listening into something. The full validator node maintains the global state. And once this particular information has been validated across different type of full validator nodes, then it's sent to someone called as a signing and broadcasting node. The reason we want to do this is, you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. So if there are DeFi projects out there, who are hosting their own liquidity,
where do we buy those eggs, Merkle Root?
I ordered it through Woolworths online. So
perfect.
Yeah. So the next people who come in are the the signing and broadcasting nodes. And the reason we've kept it, different over here is you don't want to give, all the power to, a single authority. And also at the same time, let's say, there are 4 to 5 different DeFi applications out there wanting to partner up. They will have their own rights on, signing transactions. So, that's why they can host their, own nodes for signing and broadcasting. That gives them a level of comfort as well. And if you look at all the bridge hacks that have happened, the Ronin bridge hack was there, the wormhole protocol, 80% of these bridge hacks happened around the transaction, signing process. And because these nodes are divided into 3 different parts, and there is a strict environment in terms of how you can build with us. And it's pretty funny. It's customizable, but it's strict, just the way I like it. And I think this kind of process allows, transactions to be processed securely across the chains. And we will be seeing that by the end of this month anyways. At the same time, the event listener nodes, you require a minimum of 10,000 L1X coins, to start that. And I believe for the full validator nodes, it's 50,000 L1X coins. So, those give you the right to start a full validator node. On the contrary, on the other side of things, we don't have something called as a liquid staking token that you are given out, when you stake your coins in L1X. We are leaving that open to some other applications that want to come and build, for example, like Anchor. But for everyday L1X users, the beauty over here is that you could effectively, just take even, 100 L1X coin into one of these nodes and secure the network. But more importantly, the rewards are designed in such a way, and, the interoperability side of things are designed in such a way that if you have staked into, let's say, Ethereum, right, onto the protocol, you have delegated your stake onto Ethereum as a protocol, you can effectively take that amount, put it into the liquidity pool on L1X, and secure the L1X protocol while still keeping your L1X coin, into a delegated stake liquidity contract. So in this way, we are using the Ethereum infrastructure to secure the L1X protocol and vice versa. So I think that helps, from the perspective of onboarding users. I've got a question here, which is, are we decentralizing the price information obtained from oracles for the event listeners? I think we're not using oracles. I mean, the event listeners, these nodes, that they dig into the Ethereum state directly. So, and at the same time, these event listener nodes, they come and, they're pretty decentralized. Anybody could join in. to host them, and they validate the information before sharing as well. So I think it's pretty much decentralized. And again, one more thing, I was talking to Chief, and around the concept where we have taken cluster based database storage, and in 1990s, Amazon came up with a paper called Amazon Dynamo DB. Those were the times where Jeff Bezos went and asked the scientists that I don't want my shopping cart to go down. Just keep it alive. So the scientists came up with a technology where you could split your database across multiple different servers. And then Google said that it's pretty, limited. So they came up with something called as Bigtable. And when you join both of these together, they form the building blocks of what sharding is called today. But we have taken the concept further by allocating roles and permission, because in the future, I see, there will be one node only for, L1X ID, where only the L1X ID information is stored across different nodes, but one cluster. And at the same time, we are also working towards making L1X EVM compatible. So you could take any of Solidity contract, compile it on L1X, and it will still work as it should. So these kind of things help us define the roles and scale as we go. And I'm very excited because when we launch the DEX, by the end of the month, and people, L1X users will start using the decentralized exchange with their L1X wallet for the first time. Pretty excited to see where that goes.
Thanks, Merkle. So, Chief, did you want to, or maybe Cryptonaut? This might be a good time for you to jump in and maybe talk a little bit about what, if you can, what exactly the role of the wallet will play in relation to these tokenomics or enhanced capabilities that might not be possible otherwise. And welcome, man.
Yeah, thanks for that intro. Yeah, definitely. One of the things that we try to look at is taking all of this great tech that Merkle Root and the devs are basically creating and trying to make it so that it's accessible and to everyone, right? And there's a lot of things that even as you're beginning in crypto, you don't know a lot of things, and so you rely on a lot of the community members, YouTubers, influencers, projects to kind of guide you through those systems and through those opportunities to make a good passive income, things like that. And so Merkle Root has definitely shared a great opportunity with people with acquiring nodes and things like that, and even just staking is going to be one of those things that's going to be a great passive income for a lot of people, and that's where the DEX will come into play quite a bit. And so we definitely want to try to marry the two as much as we can, so that your wallet, you've heard me say the term, if we're using smart contracts, why aren't we using smart wallets, right? And so over time, we definitely want to make that smart wallet work for you and with the assets that you have in there. A lot of the things that we're looking to do with the DEX by integrating some aspects of the DEX in there will be to help you know where to stake, potential opportunities for APRs, things like that. Likewise, being able to make it so simple that you can click with one click and basically stake your L1X earnings from nodes or from the token allocations that you're getting. So as we kind of move towards that, obviously there's a lot of things that are going to be a lot of complexities that are going to be under the hood. In terms of making all this happen on a simplistic form. And so will that all be available, at the end of the month? No. But it will come, and just so that you know that that's where our vision is headed, is that we definitely want to try to make it as simple as possible and use this tech to our advantage and for people that are using the wallet so that they can optimize their potential earnings. Solid, bro. Solid.
Chief, how are you doing, man?
I'm good, Big Ray. How's everything with you?
Oh, really good, man. Anyway, I won't talk about me. let's talk about you and the L1X. So everything all good over here, bro.
Excellent. Good to hear. Look, tokenomics is an extremely complex area for any blockchain, and we went through our initial work with Prism Group to define our tokenomics. And as we've moved forward, and especially over the last few months, we've gone out and wanted to understand more about some of the complexities that have changed over the last probably 18 months or so in crypto. So we engaged and spoke to a number of different groups around the tokenomics. And we've got some updates, and part of that is around ensuring that we maintain price stability on launch, which is one of the reasons why we're doing the full mainnet launch in January. Now, what that means is that initially people will be able to stake on launch, and once we launch at the end of August, and that by staking, obviously they're going to earn rewards. Now, we're describing those as some very decent rewards, probably blue chip rewards over and above what most blue chip coins out there are doing. So our objective there is to help people start earning those rewards and introduce the price stability as we move to full mainnet. But it's been a really complex area. We've spent I don't know how many hours on meetings and discussions and the different spreadsheets going back and forwards with updating it, even to the point where the entire team has agreed to cliff their tokens over a longer period and vest them over a longer period as well. Why? Because as a team, we believe in what is being produced here by Merkle Root and the team. This is phenomenal. This is something the world has never seen before, and we've got to have tokenomics to match. We've got to be able to ensure that what we're producing and what we're delivering out there to the market is seamless, it's usable, and it's going to be used on a day-to-day basis by so many different projects that we're bringing on board. I'm not going to go through a lot of detail. I'm just going to talk about a few little things associated with it. The use cases that we've got are designed to drive up the value and utility within the whole ecosystem of the coin itself. And by the way, I'm just going to touch on one little point here. We refer to L1X as a coin, and probably the best definition I can give you is that a token is something that is on another blockchain. A coin is something that's running on your own blockchain. So therefore, we define L1X as a coin. The use cases that we've got are around means of payment. So we facilitate seamless transactions between different chains, and we all know the 8 that we're connected to, and that number will increase from 8 over the coming 6-12 months. So means of payment, so paying for goods and services both on and off chain by exchanging tokens. Staking, that's going to be a really, really important one. Now that will help lock up those tokens. What that does is that reduces the circulating supply. The objective there is that we create value, we create price stability around that, and people for doing that staking will obtain benefits and rewards with the L1X coin. And it's also around governance as well. The token holders will engage in the governance process, shaping the future, and that's something we'll introduce down the track as well to help people provide their input on increasing the coin value. The tokenomics itself originally it's designed around game theory, market design, contract theory, monetary economics, and social choice. So it's easy to say those words, but what I can tell
Not
you
really.
is
That's
that
kind of a mouthful, man.
Oh, it is, but well, it's pretty easy to say. But if I compare that to the work on the algorithms that Merkle Root and the guys have actually put into this, that's a simple explanation. The algorithms, and I've been privy to some of those discussions with Merkle, as he told before, even around the cluster designs. That's just one of those conversations. It's actually pretty amazing to and I feel very privileged to work with Merkle Root and the rest of the team, Spark and everybody on the call around not just the tokenomics but the design, the projects that we're bringing on, the games. It's pretty phenomenal. I don't know how best to describe it. I really don't. how do I cover it? Go on. There's so much to do. What I can tell people to do, rather than me just rabbiting on a little bit more about it, pull up the white paper, have a read through it, and then put some questions up about if you've got any questions about different areas of it. Look at section 15 of the white paper. We've put a lot of work into it, and we've tried to describe it in words there. But then to try and see, like I said, some of those algorithms and some of the calculations that are performed on the back end can't really be described in words. But we're doing this to try and ensure that L1X becomes the token of choice across the world. We will be a blue chip coin.
Maybe we can start with some of these questions as a way to kind of dig into the sprawling topic a little bit, because I think even when you're immersed in this, it gets to be a lot. Like there's so many different pieces. So maybe taking a page out of Cryptonauts' book and focusing on the user-oriented questions and starting at it from that track, and then trying to expand a little bit how that fits into the vision here. And so I'll just go into this question here, Chief, and it's the questions here, pre-collected questions. So what are the requirements to run a node? Are they different for a FVN or ELN?
So we're about ready to release the notes on what's required on that. Merkle Root's done a lot of work on defining that. So rather than go through all the details here, we're opening up the rights to run nodes to those investors with 50,000 coins as the starting point. So wait for that document to be released. It is pretty imminent. We've been going through it, providing some feedback and some updates on that to ensure that it provides all the right level of detail. And
okay.
Actually, what you might find is that
there you go. I've released. It's released the document. It's there in the chat.
Bing bang boom. You ask and you shall receive.
Look, I think. Look, I provided to the team 1 week ago. I don't really know why they took so long, but anyways, I've released the document, and if there are any concerns about it, we'll work through it. And these numbers, the mathematical model are, going to change. Maybe it's going to change over the mainnet beta. That's why we have the mainnet beta phase. So if you have any concerns, rather than bombarding Discord, anyone, just try to compile your questions and send it through, because we really don't have the time to go through each and every question. Do you want a good product, or do you want to keep answering us to keep answering questions? It's a pretty straightforward, thing.
Okay. Can we do some of these questions that we have here in the chat? Yeah. You good with that?
Yeah, sure.
Yep.
Okay. Joss V Max says, are there any listing plans? I know it's early, but I don't want tokens which are listed on MEXC. It's a no-go for me. And so that maybe plays a little bit into marketing development and public sale progress.
Yep. So on the listings, yes, we are very much talking to a significant number of both CXs and exchanges out there. Because we're still in those discussions and filling in all the if you see the level of paperwork they require for listing, it's pretty full on. Yes, we are working through those, and we're working through tier 1, 2, and 3 exchanges.
Perfect. Let's see here. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, I just noticed somebody put a point up. LMFG developers vested at 24 months. I believe project will start copying what we're doing. Yeah, absolutely. We're setting the pace for that. We believe the fact that our team is, as I said before, our team is willing to both cliff and vest for a longer period. Hopefully, that really does send a message out there to everybody that we're not here for the short term. We are here for the long term and widespread adoption of L1X as the token for cross crypto.
No, I think a lot of people are really excited for this launch, and we, how struggling with words here a little bit, but there's so much here, and there's so much work that goes on in the background, and sometimes I'm sure most people here feel overwhelmed with it. So maybe, speaking a little bit to that and how like you can, you're dealing with like day to day, like what, a good example of this was, I think when you guys were in New York and I was talking to somebody and they said like both you and Spark were on two phones, literally, while you were eating. And I know this isn't necessarily relevant to tokenomics and everything, but to just kind of dig in a little bit to that, the cliff and the vesting and everything. There's a lot more than, just those dynamics that go into it. There's a lot of heart and soul that's been put into this, a lot of time, from traveling around the world to being on the phone. And so, I'd say thank you to you guys, because like I'm still sitting here in my living room, just popping on this call and doing my little piece of it. But all the stuff that you guys are doing, I don't think really gets highlighted because that doesn't show up in the white paper. I know, LMFG talked about how like ridiculously well put together that was, but the commitment to actually bringing the product to life, it's a humongous undertaking. So, so thanks to you guys and everybody involved with that.
Thanks, Big Ray. Yeah, the amount of work that we put in is pretty phenomenal. But to get over in New York, and you mentioned just the fact that we're on two different phones. Yeah, there's probably 4 phones between us at that point, simply because we're juggling calls and we're putting it on mute and then talking with one another, Spark and I, about different things, and then jumping back on. If I wish it was just New York, that was probably throughout the entire trip. I remember sort of a number of occasions you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Why? Because it's not your time zone, and immediately jump on a call because the guys are awake back here in Oz. The amount of effort going in, and I look at it and go, it's worth doing. But then I turn around and I see the amount of hours that Merkle Root's putting in, and that just blows it away. No wonder he's a bit tired this morning. Knowing full well the amount of effort he's putting in. It blows me away. I keep up. Yeah.
Yesterday evening I had a conversation with my head of engineering, and we had like 28 days before the mainnet beta launch, and there was such a lot of work to be done. And he wasn't agreeing on certain parts, and he was trying to cut short things. So I fired him last night. So I was trying to, juggle through the tasks that we have and allocate it to the team, put it on me. But I think more importantly than the hours, it's just making sure that when the L1X users get something out there, it actually means something. It's not just a Me Too product. It will actually mean something. You will actually use it, and that's what requires a lot of no corner cuttings, I would say, when it comes to bringing things out there. And for one example is the white paper. We could have launched a version 2 white paper, just by updating a few pages, but it is kind of a completely new white paper, and that happens by no corner cuttings. That's what we follow.
Totally.
No,
and look back at
go ahead.
Every aspect. That's around the development of the protocol itself. But then you start looking at the other work that we're doing around things like the DEX. The amount of work that we've been doing with the DEX guys has been phenomenal, helping them with input on their light paper, defining and designing the complexities around everything from the balancer pool through to the staking, the cross-chain swaps, the rewards, the cross-chain lending and borrowing, how they're going to utilize the various components, the modules that Merkle Root has put together for logic transfer and asset smart contracts. And that's just the DEX. And then you start looking at the gaming side of it. We had the exciting announcement of Diga and Eldarin joining. Now that's actually quite huge because that's we put a lot of work into that, and that's just one of many to come. We then start looking at HealthLink and the work that's required there to push that out to market. Being able to view and manage personal health records, share memos between hospitals, doctors. Just imagine the amount of work that goes into defining a product that is able to go across all of those three industries, around healthcare to finance, across to gaming. I mean, it's a pretty phenomenal product that can go across all those, and they're just the starting points for the use cases.
Oh, I always think of the 8 bills you get when you go to the hospital. If you're in America, you can relate, because they all come from the different service providers within the hospital. So, I mean, I can imagine the level of complexity to get, a working product, like let's call it on the back end. So all of that functions when I can, it's so frustrating how healthcare works in the United States to see, something that worked in the background, so it was a lot simpler for the user. I think everybody here could totally appreciate that.
Look, I'll give you a perfect example of healthcare costs. The American Veterans Administration a couple of years ago started a piece to introduce enterprise medical record across the VA, and they came out with a cost of about $5 billion US. Now, that's huge. That's just a massive number, but it's now increased to 16 billion. And they reckon that throughout its life, it's going to probably cost the American taxpayer about 50-something billion dollars. And that's just the administration side of it. Let alone, what about the actual healthcare itself? Imagine a product that, and that's where we want to take the likes of HealthLink and the other health products that we're looking at, being able to take that and reduce those costs down because of the capabilities that we're introducing, providing not just a reduced cost, but faster access, being able to share those records between systems. It's got to be ultimately where we want to get to is to make L1X and the products that build on us to provide those solutions out there to the market, which are going to be much, much cheaper to operate, to build, and to actually provide that full utility. And with all those transactions coming through, and you're counting those transactions in cents. I believe in Singapore, some of the costs associated with pushing memos or updating health records can cost anywhere from $10 to $50 per transaction. Imagine reducing that down to cents. What's that going to do to the cost of healthcare?
Oh, that's just common sense, Chief.
Absolutely, totally.
Pun intended. A lot of times when I think of L1X, a lot of times I think about Walmart, and there's some people that might look, give me a funny look when I say that, but the way that Walmart has reinvented, logistical use of, transportation product, how their facilities are located, etc. I look at applying that type of theory and application to, all kinds of different products throughout the space, but there has to be a tool set, if you will, to be able to make that happen. And when I look at L1X, I look at all of the possibilities that can actually exist. And, talking about the healthcare, it's just better logistical use of time and money, right, to accomplish those same administrative tasks. It doesn't mean that, people are going to be out of jobs. It just means that the process is going to be more effective and efficient. And when you look at applying that like to other fields, there's almost an endless amount of fields where better application can help on the back end and make the front end experience so much better. And it might sound silly to think of Walmart, but I think Walmart is a really day-to-day example that we can look at and say, oh, okay, wow, we're just talking about, cents, right, for that transactional cost. But when you start talking about millions of transactions and billions of transactions, those pennies really add up. And I think that's the one thing to really focus on, is that instead of, making that windfall or that lottery win right away, you're grinding out money, slowly over time, but it keeps building and building and building. And that's something that I really look forward to in both participating, as an investor, and on the technical side on like node ownership and anything I think that people have in terms of ideas, I think these are good things to talk about, because you're always limited by your experience, and you might not be aware of where something can be applied, but in talking to that other person, you think, oh wow, okay, this is maybe an application where it can be applied. And it made me think a lot because Connie had just posted about all the applications, and I know I've spoke to her, and I think Chief, you've spoke to her in the past too about some like some ideas that she has, and I think it's really valuable to talk to a lot of people because it's all those little transactions that add up into something that's really important, and that is really, I think, a core of something that's being built here is all that little integrations and little conversations adds up to something really big.
And that's where you might actually start seeing, for the listeners out there, about the capabilities that Merkle and the team and the projects are building. Really, you'll start seeing the linking. So I was in talking about healthcare there before. Imagine that healthcare is actually linked back through your wallet, where you authorize them access to it. The tokenomics around those transactions actually start linking in about where those the transaction fees actually get distributed across to those full nodes. Where are we actually going to start taking this in the future? Maybe we'll have specific healthcare nodes. I don't know. I mean, that are focusing on that industry in the private space. There's so many possibilities of where we can actually take this, let alone the actual real world use cases that we're putting in right now across HealthLink, across the DEX. Imagine having half a dozen DEXs out there all running on L1X. Imagine having 50, 100, 300 gaming studios building on us.
Yeah, the thing I like about this the most is, kind of keeping with this same topic, is we're setting the stage. We really are. We're setting the stage. We're setting the foundation, and the real use cases that we're accustomed to with blockchain and things like that. We're used to the tokens and coins being sold. We're the NFTs with the art, things like that. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. The real thing is going to come when people are able to take real world experiences and start implementing those into using blockchain technology in a way that it seems so seamless and interactable that they don't even know that they're using the blockchain. That's when we're going to get real adoption. And I honestly believe that the next big person to bring a highlight to what blockchain technology can do is out listening in crypto to our AMA or even somebody else's AMA, and they're just sitting there and they're just waiting for the right platform. And I feel like we're building that for sure. And one of my all-time favorite things to do is to sit and listen to what people have to say, because it's interesting. I just had a conversation the other night, and I shared it on a previous AMA, is that we were talking about manufacturing, the whole manufacturing inventory management, distribution kind of flow. And it was very interesting how their mind kept going back to just digital art, metaverse, and tokenomics, and they didn't realize all the different capabilities that you could do with it beyond those things. And for me, it was awesome to see that aha moment hit their face when they really realized the capabilities of what it can do, which far exceed what I just mentioned. And that's, to me, the real win. And that's what's going to start setting people on fire when it comes to bringing their ideas to life.
I agree 100% with you on that. It's it's sort of why I started this conversation out with this idea of, in 2016, there was the talk of smart contracts, and prior to that as well. And that bull run was really created by the hype around smart contracts in 2017, 2018. But there were no real products in relation to smart contracts, really, that should have caused a bull run, but it did. And so that next bull run that happened, all of the stuff that was talked about in the previous bull run was actually in place. But the big topic right now in the space is actually infrastructure. And I don't know how many people have been keeping up with this, but you can't build dApps if you don't have the infrastructure. And so when I look at value in crypto. I tend to look, at utility, and the utility that, unlocking capital does, in a seamless manner is huge utility, and having the infrastructure to back it up. And then not only just the infrastructure, but we've seen the problem, arise about the ownership of like nodes on other chains, and some unfairness or some unbalanced ownership or control over that chain or how it operates. And I just go back to how like the back end here is structured and democratized, like truly the world should be a true democratized ownership of whatever it is you're taking part in. And that's the real key. But having that true ownership that facilitates that and creates that infrastructure that is, able to open up this immense amount of value, really does unlock, exactly what you're talking about there, Cody, is this idea of, people having these aha moments. But I'll just keep going back to this. You can't have that aha moment unless you have that conversation. So important to have that conversation about it, because everybody has a different experience and some different idea about what they think the blockchain should be and how it should operate. And what is it? Oh, it's the metaverse, it's NFTs. Well, I would have loved to have seen that aha moment from that individual, because when you start talking a more in-depth that in-depth explanation of how the blockchain is kind of put together, what it can do, I think it truly will unlock that really creative thinker, and they're going to create a product that was never possible in the past. Go ahead, Chief.
Yeah. You're talking about the aha moment. Well, Merkle Root gave me an aha moment, and I wish I could describe that in a little bit more colloquial term. That OSH1T moment. But I was also privy to, I think I've said it before, Sparks' aha moment. And literally, I remember his words to this day. It still sticks in my mind. And they're just, the ones that there's been a lot more of those, but they're the ones that actually really stand in my mind. And we start talking about we're going through all the use cases of it. You start looking at some of the investor decks, and you start looking at all the various, the wheel of the areas that we're going to move into. And we're not going to build all those things ourselves. We'll help those projects to build out those capabilities, whether it's across mining, whether it's across healthcare, it's the DEXs, burning the bridges, all that sort of stuff.
Well, I think that's the important thing is I think most people in crypto or DeFi realize this. You're limited by your time. You can't have 10 jobs, right? You have to find different income streams or different avenues to scale up, what you're trying to create, and allow, creating the foundation or the building blocks, if you will, and allowing those people to snap those, like I like to always think of Legos, and allowing people to arrange those Legos in a manner that they find really beneficial. I find that's when, you're going to come up, somebody's going to create something unique that people haven't seen before. And so it is important that, people understand the technology that's out there.
There is definitely some amazing technology out there, especially from L1X that Merkle Root and the team have developed. They're hands down, no questions asked. For a product designer like myself, there are two that I think that are going to bring this thing home, and that is crosstalk. If people realize the power of crosstalk, in my mind, it's just going to be as impactful as smart contracts when they first rolled out. And even more so because it's that one Lego piece that you dump your bucket out trying to find to complete your whole ensemble of your build, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about there.
Everybody that's played with Legos knows that, that where is that damn piece?
Yep, exactly. It's out there. You know what it looks like, but you just can't seem to find it. Well, we found it. And from a product angle and view, that thing is going to be that's the number one thing that this whole premise is built on, is crosstalk, right? And the other thing, so that's one thing. If that doesn't get you way excited, I think this next one will, is the L1X identity. I honestly feel like that thing is going to change everyone's crypto experience and take security, engagement, and interactions, as well as like opportunity, to a whole new level. So we're not just talking one smart contract as a new technology. We're talking like multiple levels that Merkle Root and the team have developed. But from those two aspects, those are the two that I'm really excited to start showcasing, not only in the wallet, but some of the projects that we're going to be releasing on the blockchain, some of the things that we're developing into the app. Like, if you just sit back and really focus on what new tech has come out over the last 10 years in crypto, these should be definitely two of the top in my book at the list, top of the list.
Agreed. Not to be a negative Nelly here, but somebody has a question here, somewhat relevant to what we're talking about. Can the L1X team take down any app built on the L1X OS wallet anytime they wish? Like, let's say it's a malicious app.
Well, that's the nice part about having people build on top of the wallet, is that we're putting in specific safety guardrails to make sure that we're anticipating malicious attacks from things that we've seen, right? Very similar to how Apple has its standards versus Android. Android is pretty loose in its terms of security protocols that it requires you to do. That's why a lot of those apps are garbage to begin with, in my opinion. Likewise, Apple holds a pretty high standard to the developers and requires a lot to be done there. And I know that Merkle Root and the developers are definitely taking this into consideration as well. And we are definitely trying to implement that. Can we protect everybody? No. But can we try to put that to block them from the very beginning? Yeah, in a very decentralized way. We don't want to become a centralized component that we're monitoring it like an Apple. We definitely want people to have that flexibility and freedom of the decentralized build, but we can definitely put in some guardrails.
I might have missed this. Is that SDK ready to be released, or has it been released?
The SDK for the... Oh, go ahead, Merkle.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Yeah.
I'll let you take the lead on that.
Yeah, the SDK will be released along with the mainnet beta launch at the end of this year.
Okay. At the end of August, Merkle, or the end of the year? Okay.
August for us. Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. So I know I kind of threw this out there before, the SDK for developers, right? Everybody's familiar with that, but the SDK for marketing is, because I know me and Cryptonaut have talked about this a little bit, kind of behind the scenes a few months back, was, in a way to, kind of have an organic scoring system for developers where, almost like you have stats on the back of an NFT card for coders, right? Like, where I'm sure you have a standard for your engineers, Merkle. Could L1X implement a similar feature on the back, so that people that create things, sort of like a job board, if you will, and like a rating system for marketers or artists or something like that, so that we could see kind of a cluster, if you will, of talent, and a legitimate scoring system, so that it's just another avenue that sets L1X apart. Is something like that possible?
Yeah, I think for sure. And the whole concept of L1X is, to take the concept of marketplace. For example, I might be dropping some alpha here, but imagine anyone out there could create a multi-chain balancer pool and keep earning rewards out of it, every time a transaction goes through. So, I haven't received the proposal for that yet. I'm just too busy on the tech side. So if anyone of you think that's a great idea, just write me a proposal and we can start implementing it.
I think it's a great idea.
You heard it here first.
The thing with the rating with the developers, I'll go back and I'll say this is why I'm so excited for the L1X ID to come out. I'm telling you guys, it's going to be a game changer on so many different levels.
Okay, well, we'll have to wait and see. I believe you, but I want to see it in action.
It'll be the first rewrite. Don't worry.
Okay, cool. Maybe speaking of this a little bit, because we're getting towards the end, maybe just speak a little bit to the public sale. I know there's a little bit of talk about KYC here in the chat and the current public sale that's going on. Maybe talk about the requirements a little bit there, how long that's going to run.
The public sale, as we mentioned previously, it's divided into two different parts. So, the first one is at the moment it's currently going on, which is raising $25 million US at 50 million coins. That's 50 cents. And the next one after that is also for 50 million coins, but we are going to raise $50 million. So that will be before January. So the moment we transition into the phase 2, that will be mainly during the mainnet beta phase. And the current public sale is going. Look, I wouldn't say it's going very, very good, but I would say it's going good. Like, we are going to hit the targets, so that's what I'm okay with.
Okay, and there are a couple of requirements that were mentioned earlier about getting licenses for nodes and so on and so forth. And I think there will be some more clarity or documentation on that.
Yeah.
That's coming shortly.
Yeah. So if you participate right now in the public sale and acquire a minimum of 50,000 L1X coins, you can lock those coins and get an NFT to run a node, or you can sell that NFT or lease that NFT. And for the second type of node, which is the event listener node, there is a minimum of 10,000 L1X coins. And if the L1X capital raise is being done on two websites, so L1X.foundation, and if you don't see your country on the list, you can go to L1Xpublicsale.io. And we're working very closely with the DEX guys here. And the document on docs.L1X.foundation, as I mentioned previously, we are still changing information in there, but because we want to drop the information out so you can start consuming it, you can go there and start reading about all these requirements.
Perfect. Thanks, Merkle. And so I think that, does anybody have any last questions? Red, do you see anything? Chief, do you see any questions that I didn't address here on the side?
There is so many that come through that sometimes it's a bit hard. The statement in there around WASM to eBPF. I think we've spoken about that more than enough around the gaming side. But one important thing to remember here is it's not just gaming. It actually introduces capabilities into potentially other apps as well, not just games. Apps that can utilize the graphics capabilities and other system resources that eBPF provides.
Okay. Does anybody have any? Go ahead.
Yeah, I do. There's been questions about, excuse me, at launch, what the actual circulating supply market caps,
there it was.
Allocations, and whether the allocations are going to node rewards or the L1 DEX.
Look, I think for specifics, you can read the tokenomics section of the white paper. But what I will say is, on the launch of the mainnet beta, the rewards for the stakers will start getting distributed, and we have set around 10 million coins for the rewards until mainnet launch. So I think the earlier you start staking in, the higher probability of the rewards, and in October the P2P trading can help.
So in relation to staking, then, Merkle Root, is there going to be a web interface for that? Is that going to be through the wallet? How will that be handled exactly, or there'll be different tracks? Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So once you claim, we will be releasing information on claiming and a video on how you can stake as well, of course. But the process is pretty straightforward. Once you claim your coins, you can go to the website which we will be releasing, and choose the node that you want to stake into, and you will be able to see your rewards straight away in the wallet.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Let's see, just we got 1 minute left here, so I'm just trying to be thorough here. And that documentation on some of the stuff is imminent, correct, Chief?
That's correct. Yeah, it's coming very, very soon. But a lot of stuff is actually written. We're going through checking it for accuracy and doing all those usual things that we do.
Perfect. Okay, thanks, guys. I appreciate you being here to answer all these questions. Documentation imminent. Any other questions? Obviously, post in the chat. The X team will smash it away. Let me see. Okay. Let me just read this here. Just think it'd be cool to see it real time. Not worried about how much as how many. Once people read through the white paper, interest into L1X will explode in my book. I agree. I think. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. I just want to, clear this question out, because many of them have been asking this, like, some kind of transparency around the capital raise. Yeah, look, I think, I don't know what purpose it serves. It doesn't serve any purpose. So, and I don't want that to be a topic of discussion. The topic of discussion should be around the utility of the product. And from the very beginning, we have decided that, and we will not be changing that.
Okay. Sounds good to me. Utility, right? Not location. Location is good, but utility. And I think that's a good place to end it. Remember, of course, L1X tech is amazing, but it's always powered by people. So make sure you're getting out there, make the connections, unite with other people, and bring value to yourself in both learning, and making friends, because I think it's vitally important to, being around in crypto and having a fun time while you're here, while you're earning and learning. So thanks to the team. Thanks to the community. We'll see everybody back here next week. Bye-bye.